Hi, I'm Perry Atkinson, General Manager here at theDove. Hey, check out our other videos and check out our website at theDove.us. Welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and delighted to have in the studio kind of a surrogate son. But since he looks older than me, I'll just call him my older brother.
I have more wrinkles than you.
Anyway, nice to have with us today Paul Coughlin. Paul is the founder and the president of the Protectors, and he's written, I don't know how many books. How many books are you authored now?
I think 8.
8?
Yeah, including study guides. So I don't know if they count. 7.
That's great. But he's really being used of the Lord all over the country, even all over the world, actually. You've done some foreign travel as well, dealing with the subject of bullying. And we want to talk about that because here we are back to school, and it does occur. I had Treva Kuiper on the other day. She heads up the Loft Ministries for girls, and one of their subjects is bullying. In fact, she probably needs to get a hold of you to come over and talk to them about that.
Glad to do it.
Why did you take this on? Of all things, here you are a writer. What happened for you to take on bullying?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting, Perry. I do prefer writing, you know, the quiet life of a writer. I miss it.
By the way, today is Hug, a greeting card writer day.
Oh, my goodness.
Do you know of any?
I have met a few through the years, yeah, mostly in metropolitan areas.
Yeah.
Well, good. They're going to be an introvert, so get ready for a very wooden hug. Well, I wrote a book a long time ago, you know, Number Christian Nice Guy.
Yeah.
And it's coming out, the 10-year version is coming out this time next year.
Wow.
Yeah, revised version. And in that, I encouraged guys to be just more, you know, men want to be protective, right? And but we often don't have a means to do it. Not that many people can quit their job and become a firefighter or something like that. So I wanted to create an entity, a medium that men in particular could use to protect other people. And men pretty much enjoy justice. We love working on behalf of justice. Women do as well. But as a men's speaker, I was speaking mostly to men at the time. And so I thought I would create a place where justice, would go into places where justice is missing. And then just through, as you know, blood, sweat, and tears, really, in trying to make a vision come alive, created the Protectors to bring justice into some of the worst, darkest places in the world, Perry. I mean, you know, bullying is the #1 form of child abuse in the nation and probably the world. And it's the only form of abuse we tell the most vulnerable among us to just ignore. And it's so anti-family, it's so anti-God. God hates bullying. He doesn't just think it's wrong and doesn't think people shouldn't do it. We're told in the Psalms that there are 7 things he hates and he finds an abomination. Every one of them refers to bullying. Haughty eyes, lying lips, a person who sows discord among the brethren. Bullying is involved in every one of those aspects.
Wow. You know, it's been around since the beginning of time, but
Cain and Abel.
It seems to have skyrocketed, or at least the awareness has skyrocketed. Add to that social media. We were talking earlier how easy it is to hide behind social media and do some bullying. Why is it on the rise?
Well, it probably is on the rise, and if so, I think we could do 2 things. I think we can say that cyberbullying, which didn't happen when you and I were in school, you know, you get.
We actually had binders with notes.
We did, yeah, little peaches. Remember those peaches? They're making a comeback, I guess. You know, we would go to school, you get beat up, you get bullied, you come home, and you get a reprieve, you get a respite from it, right? And like Humpty Dumpty, your parents patch you back together. I mean, we had 2 parents. So many kids today, they don't have 2 parents. They're living with people who aren't their parents anymore. But we could get away from it. Today, they're not getting away from it for exactly what you said, social media. It's literally following them home into their bedroom, a place where it should be a place of rest and refueling. They're being attacked on social media. It really can be 24/7. So cyberbullying is a big part of what is probably an increase. And then the other part too, Perry, is that kids just don't seem to be as resilient as they were before. I think there's and studies bear this out, there's a psychological fragility to kids today that wasn't quite there a few decades ago, a few generations ago, probably due to one-parent households. I'm not putting down, one-parent households, but I mean, we both are parents of children, and to have two parents, it's a hard job, and to be able to tag team it is really helpful, and it's not happening as much today.
I don't know if we're connecting the dots of where this leads if we don't catch it early. Yeah. Kids have a tendency to internalize it much deeper than we think and realize. Teenage suicides on the rise. Kids on anxiety medications on the rise.
Yeah.
I would assume that bullying is a contributor.
Certainly, there's a term that we have now in our vocabulary, bully side, and we have to be careful with this term because in many cases, many times, a great example is a young man named Jamar, his nickname was Shaq, in Florida, took his life, shot himself this week in the bathroom in the middle school. Heartbreaking story, and we look at this young man and the difficulties that he went through. Bullying certainly is a contributing factor to a feeling of hopelessness. At that age, everything is so intense, and so these poor kids, today is eternity for them. They think it's never going to change, it's never going to get any better. So of course, you add on top of that feelings that they might have in other areas of life. Oftentimes there's a tragedy that precedes the tragedy in these kids' lives. Is bullying the sole source of such a decision on behalf of these kids? Probably not. Is it a contributing factor? You bet.
Where do you manage the line, Paul, between growing up and kids being kids,
yeah,
and then crossing a line into bullying?
That's a great question. Usually men ask that more than moms. Moms just want it all to go away, right? And
yeah.
Dads are like, well, I got bullied and nothing bad happened to me.
Yeah.
Well, it probably wasn't bullying. The line, Perry, is between hurt and harm. The line is between conflict, misunderstanding, which is painful, it's difficult, we've all have it. If you want to do anything meaningful in life, there's going to be conflict, but that's not bullying. Bullying is the superior use of power with the intention to harm another person over a period of time and for no good reason. So it's an ongoing campaign of cruelty as opposed to conflict, which is awful. No one likes it. You feel sick afterward. But psychologically, that doesn't really harm us the way that an ongoing campaign of cruelty does. So a good way to look at it is the difference between hurt and harm. A sunburn is temporary pain, it goes away. And that's conflict. Bullying is more like cancer. It's life diminishing itself. So there's the line.
Wow. What is a sign to a parent that their kid's being bullied and they're internalizing it?
Yeah, we know, Perry, for example, that just fundamentally only about 10% of people who undergo abuse ever speak, whether that be sexual abuse or that be the abuse at the hands of a bully and so on. So most don't talk. They internalize it. So, by watching their behavior, you can see something's going on. Usually a degree of irritability that wasn't there before. Sometimes just a sudden outburst of anger where the kid just didn't do that before. Domination of siblings when they didn't do it before. Loss of interest in school. Usually this revolves around school, not because schools aren't doing their job, but that's where kids come together over a long period of time. So they may have loved school at one time or love a hobby or loved a sport, and now they hate it. Ill-defined illnesses. You don't know why the kid's sick, they're just sick. They usually complain of a headache, stomach ache, or both. If they're younger and they stop bedwetting, particularly boys, and they start bedwetting again, things like that. Too much sleep when they didn't do that before, or too little sleep. These are sometimes signs of depression.
It's certainly the awareness of bullying is on the rise, and there is some crackdown going on. Are you pleased with the way we're handling this?
Yeah, Perry, what's interesting is that, most states now will have some sort of anti-bullying legislation on the books. And obviously there's federal mandates for schools to do more than what they've done, let's say, in the past. It's usually not in the policies themselves that is the problem. It's the enforcement of the policy. And I would back up to say that bullying really isn't a school problem. It is a cultural problem, and it requires a culture to change it. Most administrators, most of the time, really do care deeply about kids, and I've had the great pleasure to work with them across the country and in other parts of the world as well. They care deeply, they want to do it. But bullying is so secretive, it is so predatory that a bully waits for the teacher to turn his or her back before they strike. And so oftentimes teachers don't see it, they just don't. So what do we have to do? We've got to get parents. Parents are the frontline defense. Parents need to require their children, the way I did with my kids, said, listen, you may not have to befriend everyone in your school. That's impossible to do, really. But if you see that kid who's low on the totem pole, having their psychological flesh seared from them, I expect you to do something. I expect you not to be a coward, and I expect you to do the right thing afraid. I expect you to speak up at that moment, to say this is wrong, or comfort them afterward. If more parents did that, we could diminish bullying within 1 week by about 50%.
All right, we're talking about bullying. Paul Coughlin's with us. He heads up The Protectors. Your website for people who want to get a hold of you?
Very simple, theprotectors.org. And if they want to contact me personally, just Paul at theprotectors.org.
All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. Okay, we are back with Paul Coughlin, and he's the founder and the president of The Protectors. And by the way, you can go to theprotectors.org.
Protectors.org.
Protectors.org, and it's an incredible resource if you want to check it out. And there you'll find all the books and information, everything you need to know. And if you want to contact Paul, just go Paul at The Protectors, and you should be able to catch him there. All right, we're talking about bullying. It's a big thing. By the way, you got a fundraiser coming up. What is that?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, by the end of this year, Perry, we recently went to Tanzania, East Africa, and worked with groups from 4 different countries. And they very much want us to return to do a four-nation conference there about this time next year. We want to do it, of course, but that's a pretty spendy proposition. So we're looking to raise money for that. We're also working to raise money for a crowdfunder. We've had this great opportunity to work on a reality TV show or develop a reality TV show about bullying. This nation needs to see what bullying is really about, and more than that, it needs to see solutions. For example, we are working with Dr. Paul Gossman, the superintendent who allowed the documentary Bully to be shot in Sioux City, Iowa. I met with them personally, flew out there, and they're allowing us access to their school district to show what schools are doing right in diminishing what is now the #1 form of bullying, or #1 form of abuse in the United States and probably the world when it comes to kids. So we have a lot of great things that we have been asked to be part of. People want us to come and do it, but we need support, and we'll be doing a fundraiser later this year.
Okay, and you'll have that on the website?
We will, and we'd love to share that with you.
Theprotectors.org.
Thank you.
Paul, since this topic has come to life, I'm sure there's some adults out there going, you know what? That's what happened to me, and that's why I am the way I am.
Yes.
Are you seeing that?
I am, and then Perry, when we do these community-wide conferences, and many times they're focused around a church brings this conference in. It's called Courageous Communities Against Bullying. We'll be doing one in Baltimore in the end of November. And one of the things we love to do is have counselors speak, because you're right. I mean, this is why I'm the way I am. The lights begin to come on when people think about this topic. Perry, it's one of the darkest moments in a person's life. Terror is when power is wedded to fear. It's terrorism when it's for political purposes, and then it's terrorism also personally too. It's intentional. The other person wants his kid to be absolutely terrorized. Well, the psychology that goes along with that, the damage that comes along with that can be formidable, and people really need help overcoming that. It helps to explain why when a person won't even want to speak up in a social gathering. It explains why a person will be so upset at work, but they won't say anything when they're being mistreated. Because the last time they spoke up, it got even worse for them in many cases, many times. So it helps to explain why a number of people are so passive aggressive and these type of things.
It's certainly not The corporate world is not immune to it, nor is
No.
ministry immune to it. In fact, I've seen it in ministry. I've called it out in ministry, and then I was called out for calling it out.
Wow. Let's compare battle wounds, Perry. Yeah, I don't like it when I see it either. You know, I'm one of those people who speaks up when they see it. Yeah, you know, Perry, the three industries where bullying can be the worst are going to be in education, nursing, and ministry.
Really?
And the reason why is those three tend to attract a more nurturing personality. So, and rightly so. I mean, it's important to have a nurturing personality in those areas. Unfortunately, the nurturing personality does not know how to handle a serial bully. And I would say particularly in the church. The church really believes that all you've got to do with a bully is just love them more, and that'll change them. Sometimes it's true. I spoke with a lady named Candace from Minnesota yesterday, whose son was picked up in 4th grade and just thrown to the ground. And she asked her son, what do you want to do? And he said, well, I just don't think that kid knows about love. Let's invite him into our home. And it really did change this kid. And amen to that. That's a great first step in many cases, many times. Yeah. But we like to believe that's the only step in dealing with a bully. And in reality, many serial bullies do not listen to peace, love, and understanding. They just don't. You wish they did, but they don't. They listen to power and consequences. What's in it for me to change? They'll actually think of you as a kind of a dupe if you are caring and compassionate toward them.
Is an adult who's involved in bullying, may not realize that's what they're doing, is that a result of them being bullied as a child, or an injustice in their life? Yeah,
it can be, Perry. You know, hurting people hurt people. There's certainly truth to that. We have this belief, for example, that bullies have low self-esteem, that they feel badly about themselves. Studies show that actually they have average to excessive self-esteem. Your average bully actually thinks they're kind of hot stuff. So they're not really hurting inside. They're not this wounded little dove that just needs more love in order to be, you know, to stop harming other people. In most cases, most of the time, they need to see the humanity in other people, and that comes through what we call the portal of humility. Also, too, we must keep in mind that many bullies come from homes that are highly permissive in the parenting style, especially. Don't you love this fly that's in the studio?
A fly in the studio.
In this entire studio, there is one fly. It loves us. Also, bullies tend to come from homes with lack of supervision, but especially male supervision. So, yeah, they do see coercive parenting styles when they're young. They see parents who often express disdain and contempt for other people, and they feel that that is just how you go about life, is expressing disdain and contempt.
Is political correctness being what it is it fueling the problem? Is it exposing the problem? I mean, we seem to be ultra sensitive and touchy-feely. We don't want to hurt anybody.
I think that would fuel, that's a great question. I think it fuels a false definition of bullying, because I follow bullying pretty closely. And it's very difficult to bully someone. It's very difficult for one group of people to bully another. In order to talk accurately about bullying, it's interpersonal. Sports teams, as I wrote for Fox News, sports teams do not bully each other, okay? They may be aggressive toward one another, but they don't really bully one another. In regard to the political realm, no, it's just the hustle and bustle of people vying for attention and the spotlight and the job. That's just mostly conflict. Do they express disdain and contempt for each other? Sure. Is it superior power with the intention to harm? Sometimes. But by and large, the political correctness, though difficult, doesn't really fall into the category of bullying.
You have been very, very strong on this issue as it relates to what can somebody do. And I think you alluded to it earlier. And I would say to parents and to young people, or wherever you are, corporate people, if you're seeing another person bullying another person, step in.
Yeah.
What should they do at that moment?
Well, a good thing is, you know, wisdom, courage without wisdom is to be foolhardy, right? So in the workplace, you do have to be a little careful as well, because you may be on the chopping block, let's just be honest, right? What you want to do is create alliances, if at all possible. What you really want to do is document what you're seeing and find out if it does one of two things. If it violates corporate policy, and if it violates law. So if you can find out, usually with the help of an attorney, this is what I saw, these are the people who also saw it take place, what does this constitute, and is it over a period of time? And then if you do something about it, realize things can backfire. And I think a lot of us who really care about justice we've had things backfire on us before. To the best of your ability, bring other people with you, because it's very hard for a supervisor to say, it might be easy for a supervisor to say no to one person. Well, that's not the case. He or she has 3 people in her saying the same thing. You can't really avoid that one.
Wow. Okay, but on the playground,
yeah,
you're saying to your children, step in.
Yeah, do something, and it takes many forms, Perry. Some people don't have the courage to step in right away. Courage is doing the right thing, afraid, really. Some people don't have that, so you can comfort the target afterward. Report, not tattle, to authority what you saw and what you heard. And it's amazing, Perry, one Oregon study shows that if one kid, and they don't even have to be popular or large, if they just use assertive but nonviolent words, stop it, that's wrong, leave that person alone, let's do something else, the teacher's coming. That incident of bullying can end 58% of the time within 6 to 8 seconds. It's really, it's amazing. What we do is the power of 2. We encourage kids to make an agreement. If I see you being bullied, I'll help you, you help me. Now here's the cool part. When the 2 of us see someone being bullied, we will do something. We will not be passive, frankly, sinful bystanders. We're going to be assertive, courageous alongside them. We're going to do something about it. And here's one reason why, Perry, and this is important for parents. Studies show that when a target sees bullying when a bystander sees bullying take place and they don't do anything, their capacity for sympathy, empathy, and courage decrease. Wow. They become literally a smaller-souled person as opposed to what we should be, large-souled, magnanimous. Wow. So they are actually harmed psychologically when they don't do something. They need to do something for their own conscience and for future guilt. And when they do stand up to a bully, the sooner we learn how to stand up to a bully, the better our lives are going to be. Because like the poor, they'll be with us always, We need to learn how to handle them early in life. Many people right now watching us married a bully in their first marriage. It didn't go very well, Perry. They lost all kinds of stuff, self-respect, their own health. If they could do it again, they wouldn't have married that person. Imagine giving a child the gift of being able to recognize a bully early in life, not just recognize them, but how to effectively handle them. The quality of their life will greatly increase.
Wow. Is there treatment for bullies?
There is. Only about 5% of bullies become serial bullies, and they're far more likely to commit crime. They have a criminal mentality. They look at other people as a commodity. That person exists so I can get this. So cruelty is currency in youth culture. That's very important for adults to understand, even in Christian schools. Cruelty is currency. You are more popular if you are awful to your classmates, as long as you don't go too far. Now that changes around grades 10, 11, and 12. You're not as popular anymore about being awful, but you're very popular in the middle school years. So you grow in popularity by being awful, but most kids realize that it's wrong and they stop it. Unfortunately, the harm they do can be lifelong harm to other people. What they need, if you've got a child who's bullying, they need to see the humanity in other people. They need an infusion of humility.
Wow, boy, and we're just scratching the surface on this topic. Probably have you for about 4 days straight and maybe get your seminar condensed down.
I had to come back.
Okay, you can go to theprotectors.org. That's the website, theprotectors.org, and you can correspond with Paul there, and maybe have him to your church or your group as well. He's considered an expert. You've been now all over the world talking on this, and he continues to do so. And you have curriculum, right?
We do. We have a curriculum for public schools, and we have curriculum for private Christian schools that's being used across the world.
Wow, there you go. All right, protectors.org. Thanks, Paul.
Great to be here. Congratulations on the new place.
Thank you, and take the fly with you. We'll be right back.